Now, let's finish with section 87. It's Christmas Day in 1832, and there is a lot happening in the world near the end of 1832. So in 1832, there's been this huge outbreak of cholera, I believe, and it's catching the global attention. Even in that day, the word is spreading across the globe, and great concern. There are major struggles in those young United States at the time, where the federal government had been passing some decrees, some laws, some tariffs that were very negatively affecting the southern states from their perspective, and they were starting to really ramp up in their opposition, especially South Carolina. Notice section 87, verse 1. Verily, thus saith the Lord concerning the wars, notice that's plural, that will shortly come to pass, beginning at the rebellion of South Carolina, which will eventually terminate in the death and misery of many souls. Steve Harper pointed out in his book, Making Sense of the Doctrine and Covenants, that this revelation that Joseph Smith received about the war, the Civil War, as this beginning point of multiple wars, that because it wasn't put in the Doctrine and Covenants, it wasn't completely known to everybody, but there were copies of it that were spread around. And Steve Harper points out that it was a newspaper in Philadelphia after the war breaks out. Those first shots are fired early in April of 1861. So if you do the math, we're talking 29 years later when the war actually does break out. And Steve Harper points out that this newspaper in Philadelphia says, "Is there not a prophet among us?" And then they include Joseph Smith's prophecy to say this war was prophesied very clearly, and why it would happen and where. Look at verse 2. And the time will come that war will be poured out upon all nations beginning at this place. Now, I am not an expert in war history, and I've not mapped this out. But based on this revelation, the way the wording comes out is there will have been many conflicts and many wars previous to the U.S. Civil War, beginning in 1861. But the way this is described here is that war is going to be poured out upon all nations. That's worldwide, beginning at this place. For behold, the southern states shall be divided against the northern states, and the southern states will call on other nations, even the nation of Great Britain, as it is called, and they shall call upon other nations in order to defend themselves against other nations, and then war shall be poured out upon all nations. It seems like there's this prediction of an increasing wars and rumors of wars that really starts ramping up, beginning with this Civil War, with some very specific prophecies coming from Joseph Smith on this Christmas Day, 1832. He's also describing the slaves rising up against their masters. And verse 5, it shall come to pass that also that the remnants who are left of the land will marshal themselves and shall become exceedingly angry and shall vex the Gentiles with a sore vexation. So there's going to be this turmoil and this conflict. Wow, Merry Christmas indeed, right? This is not a joyous thing. And you thought it was bad up to that point? Well, verse 6, thus with the sword and by bloodshed the inhabitants of the earth shall mourn, and with famine and plague and earthquake and the thunder of heaven and the fierce and vivid lightning also shall the inhabitants of the earth be made to feel the wrath and indignation and chastening hand of an almighty God, until the consumption decreed hath made a full end of all nations. Now at this point you're thinking, my goodness, this is really a downer. Look at verse 7. That the cry of the saints and of the blood of the saints shall cease to come up into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, from the earth to be avenged of their enemies. He's saying, I'm not going to let these injustices, whether they be because of racism or because of domination and domineering of rich and ruling classes of the people, grinding upon the faces of the poor classes of the people over time. He's not going to keep letting these injustices happen. Fascinating to me that the Civil War that's being prophesied here for the United States of America as the beginning point of all of these wars being poured out, as we pull in this war analogy from heaven as well, that war is fought with the essence being centered on agency. I wonder if there's any connection to the war in heaven. Satan, who sought to destroy the agency of all of us. And so we were willing to stand up and fight against that before he came to the earth. Now you see these attacks on agency in our world, whether it be over race, whether it be over gender, whether it be over political differences, or all of the ideologies that exist out there. You peel back enough of the layers on war, and you're going to find somewhere down there at the very core, the root is somebody is trying to take away agency to one degree or another on one side or another, or maybe both parties are trying to do that. But it's usually a war of agency, which brings us back to the original war that Satan started.
Or one group trying to create more agency for themselves than for others, versus what God did. Jesus, he comes down and says, I want to help more people have more agency. Think about that. What does Ammon do? Does Ammon go in like a typical Nephite, like, let's go war against the Lamanites and take away their agency? No, let me go in and serve them according to their needs.
Now, the closing verse of 87 is verse 8, which after all these difficult prophecies and painful things that are being laid out in their future, look at verse 8. Wherefore. Notice the word wherefore is a cause and effect qualifier. So because of everything that I've just told you, verse 1 through 7, because of all of that, here's the outcome, here's the effect. Stand ye in holy places, and be not moved until the day of the Lord come. For behold, it cometh quickly, saith the Lord. Amen. I love the insight that Steve Harper also shared, where he said, the Lord didn't say, stand by. He said, stand ye in holy places. It's not this passive, sit back and let the world do whatever the world's going to do. It's, no, we take a proactive stand, and we stand in holy places, places where wheat can grow beautifully and freely, and we be not moved. Those holy places, like the temple, like a Christ-centered home, like a stake of Zion that we're seeking to establish and strengthen and build up those around us, that we don't just dress in the armor of God and then go whimper over in the corner hoping that nothing bad happens to us. We stand up in these holy places, and we don't need to be afraid of all of these prophecies that have been given.